Hi everyone. I have been asked multiple times to actually make a video in English to talk about the U visa. So thank you for those followers who have requested this. I've also have realized some people have shared that they will actually just translate all the comments within the threads of my videos, trying to figure out what is going on with the U visa. But they've been asking me to also please just do a video in English. So this is for you guys who have been following me. Yeah, this video is actually being recorded, so I will not be able to answer any of your live questions. So don't think I'm just ignoring you. I just can't, I just won't be able to answer. But you're welcome to leave any questions you might have. And please remember, there's no attorney-client privilege. I am just simply just answering general questions that are actually available to all of us online. And I'm going to show you and walk through a couple of things for you to figure out where does your U visa stand. So if you do not know me, my name is on the screen. My name is Rocio and the last name is Becerril. I'm actually an immigration attorney here in Chicago, Illinois, and we currently do represent clients all over the United States. I have been enjoying doing U visas since 2008. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful tool for people who are here unlawfully, who are maybe brought by their parents unlawfully, and they need to be able to get a green card somehow. And they were actually a victim of a crime. So we're going to start with the basics. What is a U visa? So a U visa basically was something that was created by Congress. And basically what they want to do, they want people to come out of the woods, out of the dark, anytime they're victims of a crime, and they want them to cooperate with the authorities. Because often what happens, I'm a victim of domestic violence. I don't want to go to the police department because what happened before, I would go and complain about my husband, and then I would end up getting deported, leaving my 3 little kids at home with him, with the aggressor. So that's just how unfair things were before. Whereas now I'm able to seek protection from deportation. I'm a victim of a crime. I cooperate with the authorities. So immigration has said, okay, you're a victim of a crime. The crime has to occur here in the United States. And there are actually only 27 qualifying crimes that are valid for the U visa. So not everything qualifies. So some people are like, are there any safeguards? Can people take advantage of this? And my answer is always, of course. Do people take advantage of food stamps? Of course they do. Do people take advantage when they go trick-or-treating? They grab more candy than they should? Of course, it happens. But there are also safeguards where you need to have a police report, first of all. It's a requirement to be able to be eligible for the U visa. It doesn't matter how old the case is. One of the requirements is that you have a certification that's signed by the agency that investigated the crime that you were a victim of. So usually we rely with the police department. If actually you went to court, went to trial, we can also do, or we can do the this attorney's office can also sign the certification. If someone is 17, they're a victim of abuse by their parents, DCFS was involved, or Child Protective Services, as it's called in other locations, then that's an investigative agency. So we can go to them and request a signature to prove, like, look, I was a victim of cigarette burns. DCFS got involved. There was an investigation. Here's the information. So those are other agencies because they have they're able to investigate certain crimes that they're able to sign the certification. So you have to have that as well. You also need to be able to submit like a statement, a detailed statement as to the incidents, like what happened. I was walking, someone approached me with a gun, they shot me on my knee. Now I have a metal plate in my knee. Here are the hospital records. I've gone to therapy. I was unable to sleep. I'm currently, post-traumatic stress disorder. That has been my diagnosis. So there are a lot of things that you need to be able to prove with the U visa. With the U visa, what you need to prove are the following. Were you a victim of a crime? And remember, the crime has to occur in the United States. Have you suffered substantial emotional or physical harm? So the example that I gave you earlier right now about someone walking on the street and being shot because they wanted to take his wallet away, he ended up having to have a metal plate in his knee. And the aggressors who did this, they took off, they ran away. They were never able to catch them. But that is not a requirement with a U visa. They don't have to catch. I mean, it's not your fault. It's not my fault if I get shot and the aggressors just take off with my money and they're never found. There's no requirement for the U visa that they have to be caught. So basically, I have suffered substantial emotional and physical harm for that client. Absolutely. The third one is I cooperated with the authorities. So of course, if the detective calls me to testify or to give them more information, or if I need to go to court and testify, if they found the aggressors, I need to continue cooperating with the authorities. That's also a requirement. Also, I need to prove to immigration that I'm a person of good moral character. So of course, if I'm a female and I'm a victim of a crime and I'm complaining about my husband for domestic violence, but yet I have done domestic violence maybe to my kids or my husband, immigration will frown upon that. Like, you can't, be seeking help through the U visa when you're a victim of a crime such as domestic violence, when you yourself are also a perpetrator of a similar crime. So there are all these safeguards in order for a case to be able to be approved. With the U visa, it's a great tool because it will lead you eventually to a green card many years down the road. Unfortunately, right now, there are only about 10,000 U visas that are available per year, and this is by law by Congress. So unless the laws and Congress changes this, where we add more U visas, which would be ideal because we need them. There are over 180,000 U visas right now that are pending. So you can just imagine how long the backlog is because they only grant 10,000 U visas each year. And they usually open their doors. The fiscal year for immigration, it starts in October. So that's when you know when new U visas are going to come up. With the U visa right now, what they have done, because the processing lines are so long, they're just taking forever. And I'll give you my example, my very first U visa. This is always my basic example. I had a client, she was 17 years old, and she was working at a bank, and some robbers came in with a gun, put it to her head. She had to open the safe, and she cooperated with the FBI, with the local police. She was obviously a victim of a crime, armed robbery. It qualifies under the U visa. And she suffered obviously a lot of substantial and emotional harm being impacted by this robbery. And so we were able to do a U visa for her back in 2008. And basically that U visa was approved in 8 months. She got her U visa in 8 months. She had the U visa status for 3 years. That's the requirement. And then she was able to apply for a green card. And so the process was, really fast, really easy back then. So now what has happened? Well, now more people know about it. More people are aware about it. People contact me, attorney, I didn't know that. I have a claim. Someone came to my gas station and they robbed me back in 1993. I was the attendant. I was working. They put it to my head. I wasn't able to sleep. And those crimes qualify. And under the U visa, there are actually no requirements. There are no limits as to how old a case can be. It doesn't really matter. There's in the laws, it doesn't dictate that a case is too old to be able to qualify for the U visa. And so I have had U visas that are certified by the police department from cases from 1993. I had a lady, she was working at a drive-through. Someone came up with a gun, asked her for money, demanded things. She called the police, she cooperated, and we were able to get the signature from the police department, and we were able to submit her application for a U visa. So, because right now there's a huge backlog, as I was explaining, because there are only 10,000 U visas. Right now, what they've decided to do, it's something brand new. It's they changed their guidance. And basically, as of June 14 of 2021, and I say new because it's very recent, now they have said, you know what, people can't wait, 18 years to be able to get a U visa. They can't wait 10 years, 12 years. They need to be able to get their U visa because then a benefit is you get a work permit. So now what they have decided to do is, okay, let's do a pre-approval. So if you submit a U visa, you're going to get a pre-approval, which is great because if you get a pre-approval, and this is what's called a bona fide determination. This is their language. They're using, we are going to do pre-approvals for your U visa applications. We're going to make what's called a bona fide determination that your package was submitted in good faith, that it's not, there's nothing false, there's nothing fake, there's nothing missing. So these are the things you have to understand. So if you have currently pending a U visa with immigration right now, make sure you have these 3 following things already pending in your application. Otherwise, they're going to ask you for it and you're waiting all these years. What's the point of waiting for them to ask you for this information if you already know what they need? Because I'm going to tell you what they're going to need for them to make a pre-approval. Now, before I give you that information, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. I have been requested to speak about the U visa, to do a presentation in English, much more videos in Spanish. I am an immigration lawyer based here in Chicago, Illinois, and my name is Rocio Becerril. And I've been working with U visas since 2008, and I really, really like them. I think they're just a tremendous tool to be able to help those who have been a victim of a crime cooperate with the authorities to be able to find or get a legal status here in the United States. If you currently have a U visa pending and you want to be eligible, you want to make sure that your package is eligible for a bona fide determination. They're going to make this 5 years after you submit the application. You must have the following. You must have the form I-918, which if I'm a victim of a crime, I'm the principal victim. They also want to make sure that you have the signature, the certification from the police department or whatever agency that investigated the U visa crime. So make sure that U visa certification has been signed. And they are also going to want to see that you have a statement with your U visa application. There are a lot of people who are trying to dabble into immigration and they really don't know what they're doing. And they just fill out the form and they submit a police report and that's it. that is going to get you what's called a request for evidence. A request for evidence, we call it an RFE. Basically, immigration is going to say, okay, Tom, the application you submitted, it's not sufficient. We can give you a bona fide determination. You're missing a statement. We can tell, we don't have a statement. We don't have a signed U visa certification, and or the certification that's on file expired before you submitted your U visa. So you have to be very careful. There are all these nuances where people are like, oh, attorneys, we don't need to hire them. They just fill out forms. No, we do a legal analysis. Like there are so many little nuances and regulations where probably you went with the cheap, public notary or someone who charged you X amount to do it, and they did it incorrectly. You're waiting all these years, and you're going to find out at the end, after 10, 12 years, oops, I should have gone with a lawyer because it did my paperwork all incorrectly. So this way, it's an investment in you. Yes, I always tell people it's a one-time opportunity. You want to do it from the beginning correctly. You want to do it. Go with an experienced immigration attorney who has done this. Don't go with someone who's just dabbling into it, because a certification that's signed by the police station, by the prosecutor's office, by Child Protective Services, they expire those certifications within 6 months. So you have to submit your U visa package to immigration within 6 months. If you do it afterwards, you're going to get a request for evidence saying this certification expired. You're not going to have to get a new one. And you run the risk that they can deny your case because you're not meeting the requirements. It has to be submitted within 6 months of that signature, your whole U visa package, which is the I-918 at least. And so they're going to look at that, and then they're also going to make sure that you have a statement as to the facts, like what happened with the situation. How were you a victim? Show me you were a victim of a crime. Show me you cooperated with the authorities. Show me that you suffered substantial emotional or physical harm. Show me that you're a person of good moral character and that you deserve to stay here in the United States. So another thing they're going to do right after you submit a U visa application, the next step is they have you take pictures and fingerprints. So they're going to check right away if you have an extensive criminal record, because they can't deny the pre-approval, what I'm talking about, the bona fide determination, if you have an extensive criminal record and they feel or believe that you're a threat to national security. So this can happen. So if you have an extensive criminal record, make sure that you seek an experienced lawyer who can help you with your immigration package to be able to explain everything, why it is that you have all those arrests against you. Why is there you violated an order of protection? Why do you have an order of protection in the first place? What was the crime? What happened? They want to know all these details. We have to make sure that we're upfront with immigration. So what happens with immigration is that then they're going to make a bona fide determination. They're going to do what's called a pre-approval. And so basically you will receive a letter in the mail saying, hey, we have given you a bona fide determination. Now you're eligible to apply for a work permit. Okay. So those are the magic words you want to hear. Once you get the pre-approval, 5 years from the date of submission. So again, I'm recording this, so it's not live. So if you're asking me questions, I won't be able to answer them. You're welcome to leave comments. But if you want to know, attorney, I submitted this in 2018. I submitted this in 2020. I did this in 2020. When am I going to get a work permit? Where does my U visa stand? I'm going to answer this for everyone. Add 5 years from the date that you submitted it. So if I submitted my application in 2018 in October, add 5 years, that means in 2023 in October, I should be able to hear something from immigration. If I did, people are like, I submitted it in March, but I did my fingerprints in April. Which date is valid? The date that immigration received your package. So sometimes your attorney might tell you, oh, I submitted your U visa package on October, but the receipt says like January the following year. Don't go by what your attorney tells you, the receipt. You're going to get a receipt. And I always tell people, you have to make sure that you demand the receipts from your attorney. A lot of people, their package is submitted with immigration, but there's no receipt number. I ask my clients, what's your receipt number? I don't know. I don't have one. Well, my attorney kept it. I tell people, take ownership and make sure you have copies of your receipts. Anytime you submit an application with immigration, they always send you a receipt notice. Hey, we have received your package, because then it has your own receipt number. It has a receipt date, and that's your proof that you sent it. With the U visa department, it's a very private department. So if you try to look up the receipt numbers, the I-918 on the website under processing times or case status update, you can't, because it's a very private department. So the only way you can see what your case status is only if your attorney communicates directly with the Vermont Service Center, or if you contact them through writing. and you have to put your signature in, but you can email them. Sometimes incorrectly on the immigration's website, it says, oh, you can check your status online, and people click on it and they're like, attorney, my receipt number doesn't work. I-918s will never show up online. It's just a way to protect you in case your aggressor or the person, maybe I'm a victim of domestic violence. I'm still living with my aggressor because I have nowhere to go. I don't work. I have 3 little kids. I'm still living with him, which people always ask me, can I still be with my aggressor? Yes, there's nothing that limits you with the U visa. And we understand that people sometimes don't have the financial resources to be able to leave their aggressor and they're still with them. And that's fine. But sometimes they do this without them knowing. But let's say they find their receipt number and they want to know what type of case it is, they won't be able to pull up anything. And so that's why there's a protection, there's safeguards to protect the victim. The 3 documents that you need to have, if you need to check your U visa package or the forms or the receipt numbers that they have given you. Every applicant should have 3 receipt numbers. You should have the I-918, which is the U visa application, the main one. You also need to have an I-192. This is a waiver. This waiver is going to waive any inadmissibility issues with immigration. So let's say I came here on an F1 student visa. Let's say I was working. Let's say I brought my child illegally to the United States. You can ask for a waiver within the U visa, but you have to confess. I always tell people, pretend like you're confessing all your sins. You have to come out and tell us everything you have done. If you have made a false claim to citizenship, and this is why I love the U visas, it's very forgiving. It waives deportations, it waives illegal entries and exits, fraud with documents. If I showed a border crossing card that was not mine, and maybe if I showed a birth certificate and I claim to be a U.S. citizen by doing so, all of that, you have to confess all of that, and we're going to put in the waiver, and it will be waived with the U visa because it's very forgiving. You have to balance, obviously, the equities, the good with the bad. And then finally, you want to make sure that you have your employment authorization form in there, which is the I-765. Okay, a lot of attorneys are refusing to add the I-765, and they're telling people, wait until your U visa gets approved. And my answer is no. It's even on the guidelines under USCIS. It says if you have not yet submitted an I-765, which is your employment authorization request form with immigration with your U visa, do it now. The category now, the guidelines that were changed on June of 2021 have also changed, where if it's your first employment authorization through the U visa, which it's going to be once you get the bona fide determination, it is free. There's no fee for the employment authorization. So I always tell people, if it's free, do it now, because what's going to happen is, let's say I submitted my application, like my example, on October 2018. I'm eager and I'm excited because in October of this year, 2023, it'll be 5 years. I should be able to get the pre-approval, which is called the bona fide determination, but I'm waiting for them to get to my case. So once I get to my case, I'm going to get a letter that says, Rocio, you have been approved. You have been given bona fide determination. Now you're eligible to apply for employment authorization. If at that point I turn around and submit my employment authorization, it's going to take 12 months, 14 months, I've seen wait times before I can get my work permit. Whereas if I would have submitted the employment authorization together with my U visa, or if it was submitted together, you can do it now. I can do it a year later, 2 years later. But before it's pre-approved, I will get my work permit within a week or 2 weeks after getting that letter. That's why it's so huge. It's imperative. I always beg my clients or people who are watching me, please, if you don't have an employment authorization form, make sure you submit it with your U visa packet. If you don't have a waiver, some attorneys, like I was saying, they're dabbling. They don't know what they're doing. Oh, submit your U visa. We'll wait for them to request the waiver in the future. No, you already know your violations. You know that you came with the F1 visa. You know that you started working when you were not supposed to be working. Confess those sins. Put them on the form. The I-192 waiver has a fee of $930. You're gonna pay that fee, but at least you have everything there. So once they're ready to make a decision on your U visa, you have everything, all the forms, and they're not going to send you any letters saying, we need this, we're missing that, we need additional paperwork. That's the goal. You're waiting all of these years, 5 years. Who wants to, out of pleasure, wants to wait another year? Oh, let me wait. I have all the time in the year. No, we're eager. We want our work permit, because once we have our work permit, we can get our social security number. Depending on the state that you're in, you can get your driver's license. So this is why it's really important that you get all your documentation in and together at the same time. Right now, specifically on the bona fide determinations, they're currently working on cases more or less from September of 2017. That's a pre-approval. That's the bona fide determination. Remember, they're going to just check your package from briefly. Is there an I-918? Yes. Is there a U visa certification signed by the police department? Yes. Is there a statement from the victim? Yes. Okay, we'll give him. And does he have any arrests that we're worried about or that are critical? No, this person's not a national threat. Okay, we'll give them a pre-approval. So you'll get a white letter saying, okay, you have bona fide determination. What that means is that you're going to get, if you submit a U visa now, 5 years from now, you will get protection from deportation. So they can't deport you. You're in the US, they can no longer deport you. You're eligible for a work permit, but that's why it's imperative that you submit the I-765 employment authorization form in advance. And it's going to be under category C14, and there's no fee with immigration. Once you get your employment authorization in the mail, you can go get your social security number, and you can also go get your driver's license depending on what state you live in. So these are all benefits. You are able to buy a car, buy a house, you're able to move around, travel within the United States, you're able to remain here in the United States. The other question I also get is, can I travel with my U visa? You're not able to travel with your U visa. Right now, there's no mechanism, not until you actually apply in the future for your adjustment of status. At that point, because you have your U visa and you're applying for your adjustment of status, at that point, then you can request permission to travel. But you have to speak with your attorney to make sure that you're eligible to travel abroad so you don't have any issues coming back. So finally, right now, they're working on the final concrete U visa, which is the ones, right now we have over 180,000 applications that are pending. Right now, they're currently working on applications from June of 2016. So there's a huge backlog. So if you're trying to message me, again, I am recording this video, so I won't be able to answer any live questions. But if you're wanting to know, attorney, I submitted in 2021, when will I get my work permit? Attorney, I submitted in 2020, when will I get my work permit? You have to get a pre-approval first. You have to get a bona fide determination first. When is this going to happen? 5 years from the date that you submitted your application. The other update in regards to U visas was that last year on June of 2021, they also said that if you did not add your wife or your husband to an application, because let's say I was 22 when I submitted my U visa, I was the victim of armed robbery, and it's been now 4 years, but I found, the love of my life. I've married. They're undocumented. I can now, if I marry them, I can add them to my application. Before that option was only available after you got the concrete U visa and after you were ready to apply for a green card. But now you're able to apply them with you. And if you do it soon enough, they will be able to get a work permit protection from deportation with you as well. Okay. So I hope this information has been useful. I know you guys have been asking me to do a video in English. So here it is. I hope you find this information valuable. If you do, please share this video. I think there are a lot of questions in regards to the U visa. There are so many of them pending out there. A lot of people do the U visa paperwork, and then they just let you linger around, and you just try to figure it out, where, especially when there are changes happening. Like, what do I do? When can I apply? How does this affect me? What does that mean? I have questions. I want to add this person, or I don't know, this crime qualifies. You're welcome to call out my office. We're able to do over the phone or Zoom consultations. You're welcome to get a second opinion if that's what you would like. And we're also able to review your case if you think you may be eligible for a U visa, but you are not sure. So I am happy to help. My phone number is on the screen. Is the 312-226-4232. And I'm here located in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm an immigration attorney. And I've been enjoying absolutely big time doing U visas applications since 2008. So again, my name is Rocio Becerril. Thank you for being here with me, and I hope to see you soon.